That's been a real difficult thing for me for many, many years, because a few times I've been called out on it, and my little sensitive self that's really reactive to criticism, really reactive, just shuts down at that and goes, right, okay, not doing that again. But I've been really moved over a decade now to do this kind of work, and I'm thinking, well, no, because I need to do it. I'm supposed to do it. This is why I'm here. This is who I am. I can't repress that any longer. So who am I? Well, everybody wants to see me as a mental health practitioner, and everybody wants to see me as a counsellor, because I've been doing, when I had my salons for years and years, I was the unofficial, untrained counsellor for everybody. And I'm busy distracting myself and procrastinating and trying to get these pieces of paper that other people tell me I need, and that will make me good at what I do. Where the other part of me is going, bullshit, what are you doing that for? You're just wasting time and energy and money, because this is where you're meant to be and this is what you're meant to do. It's dangerous and it's not credible, and people won't like it, and people might make fun of me or not like me or abandon me. And then all of a sudden my life shifts completely. Welcome to the Art of Feeling Better. And in this episode, I am going to be showing you a little bit of a new environment that I have decided to share with the world, and some thoughts on how 2026 is shaping up so far. Now, you may or may not be aware that we have recently moved out of the wood snake cycle, wood snake energy, where we've been reflecting, we've been doing the shadow work, we've been allowing things to come up, we've been working out what no longer serves us, whether we like it or not, because it's been showing itself. And especially into the latter part of last year, we probably were shedding our skin and preparing for what's to come this year. And you know, it doesn't always feel uncomfortable. In fact, more often than not, it doesn't feel very comfortable at all. But that is where the power lies. That's where the magic lies. That's how growth happens, when you move towards, rather than running away from the things that maybe don't feel comfortable in your body. And I know I've been doing a lot of that work forever, really. That's my mojo, that's my special skill. But especially over the last year or so, and especially over the last few months, I've been really trying to step into my authentic space more and more, and walk the talk as much as I possibly can. And that's led me to create some new material. And actually, when I say create new material, it's not quite accurate. Releasing new material is probably more accurate. Bringing forward some stuff that I've been working on for many, many years, but didn't feel like the right time, and had some resistance in my body about whether to release it, when to release it. So some of the new things that you'll see on my socials kind of been brought up through that journey. And I'm really excited, really excited, because we have just had a massive paradigm shift, a huge, big energetic shift, that if those of you that are interested and know a little bit about this topic, you'll already be aware that things that have been structured and in place for hundreds, if not thousands of years, are now crumbling, being dismantled, shedding of the skin. And you can see it everywhere you look. So even if this kind of stuff isn't your bag, you can connect in with it anywhere, because you'll be able to see all over the news. Everything's crazy. Things are just being broken down at an amazing rate. Those of you that are aware of how subtle energy works, and of more sort of esoteric side of things, will have a different perspective, and will have a different level of understanding, or just a different lens. So it's really interesting, because stepping into fire horse energy now, Chinese New Year's just been, and I really connect in with that particular cycle rather than our traditional New Year. I tend to do things very much in the old ways. So I'll celebrate the turning of the wheel all year, the 8 Sabbats in the pagan system, and I definitely really feel more and more into astrological aspects, energetic vibrational frequency aspects, the Mayan calendar, different calendars that aren't necessarily widespread and wide known. They just resonate much more for me, much more in my body. Not to mention the cycles of the moon, which I've been doing a lot of talking about, and will be doing lots and lots of talking about in my new mastermind program. So if you're interested in that, Conscious Creators it's called, I'm going to be doing a lot of work around moon cycles. It's particularly suited to women, because we, whether you know it or not, we actually sync up with the cycles of the moon. So it's really important part of reclaiming our power as women, to understand how that works. And I'll be doing lots and lots of exciting stuff on that. But that's just from my truth and from my perspective and from what works for me and what matters for me. It's not everyone's bag, and that's also cool. But if it is, it's definitely for you. And I think because it hits me so much and because it is my truth, I really, really feel this stuff. And the more I've started to talk about it, and bear in mind, I've been on this journey since I was 11, so 30 something years, lots of years that I've been on this path and on this journey and learning and growing and developing and learning again and then unlearning and then learning again. So, I do have a fair amount of wisdom to share about this, even though it might be new topics on social media. It looks like I'm kind of starting something new. It's based on a lifetime, really, for me. And it's really interesting, once I've kind of found the courage to start speaking a little bit more about this kind of stuff, which has been massive resistance over the years around repressing my own voice, loads of issues with my throat, with my voice, just out of fear, like in my DNA, generational wounds, ancestral wounds, the women's wound, the witch wound, not safe to talk, not safe to practice natural medicine and holistics. It's all new age woo nonsense, or dangerous, or it's black magic, or it's the dark arts, or it's just discredited, especially when you're working in the communities I work in, and you have the eye rolls and you have the sniggers and the giggles and the all the difficult stuff that goes with that. And it's difficult to find the courage to move through that, and most of us, and I certainly have for many years, just thought, okay, I'll just close that door and I'll just do what feels right in my own life, but I'm not going to share it. It doesn't feel safe enough. But part of my work uncovering all this stuff is that actually it's really relevant right now, and it's time for me to start sharing a bit more. Because every time I did start to mention some of this stuff, I get such a good reception from everybody all of a sudden. And so many people were in my inbox or just chatting in social situations or when I was doing workshops with kind of like, hushed tones, whispers about, do you know about this? And is there anything you can tell me about this? But people really want to know. People are interested. So it's obviously the right time, and that's kind of where we're going with it. So my little office here, you'll be able to see behind me, this is where I do lots of my stuff. I always used to have a plain background, very corporate, very sterile background if I could, just plain wall, so I didn't offend anybody. But now I'm going to show you my inner sanctum. So I'll be showing lots more sort of tools and things that I use along the way, but all lots of nice things. The energy's great, it feels lovely. Got lots of plants, lots of crystals, lots of representations from different elements, lots and lots of books from everything from esoteric wisdom to folk medicine, lost remedies handbooks, crafting books, books on quantum physics, nonlinear dynamics, energy work, shamanic work, just tons of different stuff. I'm always got a thirst for knowledge and want to learn new things. So I'll be sharing some of those as well. And I just wanted to do this particular episode because this is the art of feeling better, and this is what I titled my podcast. And I'm always on that journey to support myself in feeling better as I move through kind of my processes. And as I get older, and now I'm a granny, I'm a 90, so moving into that phase now of grandmother wisdom is all coming up now, and I can't repress my voice anymore. You get to that stage as a Gen X perimenopausal woman that you just don't give a shit. And that's the energy that I'm bringing forward in the nicest, kindest, most compassionate way. If it's for you, amazing, come join me. If it's not, that's fine too. Go look somewhere else. So I'm really leaning into that a lot more with as much kindness as compassion as I can, but for myself as well as everybody else. And this is my truth, and this is important stuff for me, important work. So I'm doing a spot of rebranding, and I have decided to lean more into my Mrs. Mojo title because it goes with everything. I have my platform, so I have this amazing treasure trove now. Mojo School as an entity, as a digital learning platform, has been built out so much. There's about 40 courses on there now, loads of tools and resources, lots of connections, lots of community spaces. There's a whole program, and I've got my live sessions now that I'm working with people to do various things and help people around that medicine wheel with a nice graduation event at the end, if you so desire. There's lots of ways for people to then continue their journey once they've kind of developed all of their dashboard and their wellness portfolio. There's 18 certificates in the flagship program, and they're all accredited, and it's just really, really well rounded around all the quarters and all the parts of self. It's like University of Life, and with a nice graduation event at the end. And then if people then go on their wonderful way and have lit up in some way and have identified where things weren't quite right for them and their actual passion and purpose, and go on to do amazing things, and that's beautiful, and that's my wish, my intention, and my hope for everybody. But those that want to stay along the Mojo ride, there's other options. There's some more advanced stuff. There's some introductions to different energy modalities that I'm experienced in. There's shamanic rites, there's Reiki attunements, there's little more bits of wisdom on deeper shadow work and that kind of stuff. And there's our Storytellers Guild, which is therapeutic storytelling program, where it naturally progressed when people were speaking their truth and uncovering things through the medicine wheel, but then they really felt like they wanted to hear their voice out loud or written down and share their truth, just the way I have. So my book's on there, and a couple of our Mojo mentors are on there. So that's an opportunity as well. And of course, for the conscious creators that are working directly with me in our mastermind group, if you are, in the space where you're then either doing it now or looking to do it, or you uncover along the way that you want to do it, supporting your own community, digitizing your own content. Maybe you've got stuff that for years you've wanted to write a book or build a course or teach something practical or academic or spiritual or holistic in a way that's easy for people to access. Maybe you've got, like I had, files and files and files of things that you go out and you show to people, but you'd love to have all your resources beautifully packaged and put out there online. That's another option. I can help you with that. And we've got some affiliate schemes and lots of cool things as well that can go hand in hand with that. And if that were not enough, I have finally decided to launch my private practice. I've done private coaching, one-to-one coaching and mentoring and different things over the years in different ways. And I didn't think I would ever set up private practice in this way, because it was always for me about scalable growth, digitizing my tools and resources that I know work, and then just getting it out there as the app and getting it out there as much as I could all over the world in different ways, in businesses, in schools, through my licensing. And through Art and Soul Tribe, my not-for-profit, the physical, practical stuff that we could deliver with the amazing team that we've got was kind of the physical aspect. And that was definitely the way I'd planned things to go. But along the way and along the journey, a lot of reflective practice, so many people have been showing themselves as wanting and needing some one-to-one, real targeted, focused power hours, one-to-one pathways, hand-holding right the way through the medicine wheel framework, real deep, safe shadow work, protected, and that space and that container held for people to do some really true, deep level healing or spiritual development and understanding energy and stepping into alignment themselves. And I've always been really good at that, and that's kind of what I do naturally. And I tend to find that I just do that. I just do it anyway, whatever space I'm in. And sometimes that can be to my detriment, because I only have a certain amount of energy for myself, and it can end in all kinds of different things, including burnout and unhealthy relationships and unhealthy boundaries for me, if I don't formalize it and if I just keep on the way I'm going, with so much going on in the world. Lots of people that are just in my inboxes, that are voice noting, that are calling and FaceTiming, and I can't answer because they just want that one-to-one support. So I thought, it's about time, let's do something about it. I know what people need, because we're kind of doing it, informally, and I'm identifying what people need. I just know that I can't give it to them because I can't afford the time, the energy, and the finance in just free therapy. So I've set some options up to do that. So there's always the self-paced stuff, there's always the support there, there's the mastermind groups, there's lots of different levels to access me, to access my support and my tools and my wisdom. But now there is an option to access me personally as well, if that's something that resonates. And you can either jump on one call, book a call, there's a whole platform set up so you can just do it, pay for it, get on a call, we'll schedule it. There's a little bit of prep time included, so I need you to fill in a form that's on there to let me know what's going on and what you want to focus on. And then there's a little bit of time at the end where I'll do some targeted feedback and some next steps and action planning based on what we've talked about in the call. You can do that as often as you want. If you need that space and that time and that safe somebody to work through some stuff. Very traditional coaching session where you work through your stuff and I'll help you sort of guide the way for you to uncover some of the questions that maybe you're not answering. But I also have two programs developed, which I've been working on, the big one, for at least 10 years, and I've had all the plans, and I've been kind of so excited about the time that will come where I can actually formalize it and do it. And it snuck up on me because all of a sudden I realized, oh, this is time. I need to do it now. This is the right time. So I have a 6-session program, which is basically 6 sessions. You can take it over 6 months, and it will be very specific to the medicine wheel. Deeper dive, one-to-one stuff. You have access to everything else as well. So all 5 grams worth of content, but you also have 6 deep dive one-to-one coaching sessions, and I will leave you with different things to work on in between sessions. So it will kind of guarantee that you'll get your way around and you know what you're doing with that extra support from me. And then there's the 12-session one, which I would like to take over a year. You could do it if you wanted to over 12 weeks. That would be quite intensive, but you could. I've designed it to be taken over 12 months, so we do a monthly session. You could also do it fortnightly if you wanted to. It's quite flexible that way. But let's just say you decide to do 12 months, how I designed it. It's called Inner Alchemy and Integration Mapping. And it's all about literally what it says on the tin, inner alchemy. It's really getting to the roots, and it is getting into the control panel, rewiring your thoughts, rewiring your brain. Not only that, it's activating the light inside you, and it's rewiring your energetic system, your subtle energy. It's unblocking and releasing the things that are keeping that repressed and stuck. It's a whole recalibration. It's a complete transformation. And it starts off with some gentle assessment tools, and we'll work through some stuff together. And as we progress, we go really deep into some parts work. I don't want to spoil it, but I want to give enough away. We do lots of kind of shamanic practices, shamanic work, a little bit of soul retrieval work. We do some shamanic journeying. We do some thought reframing exercises, some CBT style stuff. It's really, really cool. And you work your way up the frequency spiral. So this is all around sort of sacred spirals and sacred geometry and your place and how you fit in with your own energetic ecosystem, where you are right now and where you want to get to. So there's lots of learning and knowledge around how that works. And those of you that you've heard me talk about this before, I have shared the book before, I bang on about it quite often, but Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. If you haven't read it, give it a read. Lots of people are starting to talk about it now, which is great. But the system based on kinesiology that he uses, and it's amazing in his book about trapped emotions, vibrational frequencies of emotions, and where most of us are stuck and where we need to get to. I use that as my framework, and it's really, really super powerful. So I'm dead excited about that one. That's not for the faint-hearted. That is for anyone who just is ready, absolutely ready, deep transformation. And you'll get included Voxer voice note support as well. So we'll have our sessions, you'll have your whole dashboard, you'll have lots of stuff to be working through, lots of templates and activities and things to do. You're building your wellness portfolio and all your courses along the way. You've got access to the Changemakers Toolkit as well for your daily practice. If you are running a group or a business or an organisation, you've got lots of extra support and access there. And then in between time, you've got email support, and you've also got Voxer. So if you have any breakthroughs, if you have any penny drop moments or any questions or something crops up, you can hop on and voice note backwards and forwards as well. So it really is bespoke, and it really is personalised, totally personalised. So that's super exciting, right? Super exciting. And the reason that I decided that the timing is right for this stuff, for me to share all my woo-woo, all my magic, stepping into that power, and I'm slowly but surely finding my voice in this area and speaking my truth. And I'm really confident, and I have faith that by doing that, I will shine even brighter, and it will allow other people who are ready to find me, right? And if I keep repressing and going in other areas and banging on closed doors and working in spaces that are still stuck and that are part of this broken system, then I'm doing myself a disservice, right? And I'm not walking the talk. I'm not doing my own work. And I'm not allowing the space to be freed up and the capacity to be freed up and the light to shine in the direction of those who really resonate, really need it, and really align with my particular coaching style. So that's where we have the rebrand. So we have the official coaching private practice platform, holistic coaching. All my quals and accreditations are on there. The insurance is sorted and up to date, and everything's all grand. And I'll be rebranding Mrs. Mojo on my socials. So it's not just the formal Mojo School you'll see on socials. It's a bit more personalised for me. But on the socials, you'll see loads and loads of stuff and updates about Mojo School, but also about my personal stuff. And I'll be sharing some of the magic as well, which I would be interested to see, engagement-wise, what gets the most, whether an oracle card pull or some work that I might do with candles and fire and flame, or elemental work in nature, or neuroscience, or energetic themes. Be interesting to see what gets the most engagement, because I'm pretty sure it's probably not what I've been expecting, and I'll kick myself for holding it back for so long. But there we are. Divine timing. Everything comes when it's meant to. And one of the most interesting things, and I have done a podcast on this before, and I am going to do another one because I'm still trying to process it and work through some of it myself, is the realization about my soul purpose. Not my soul purpose, my soul's purpose. Why I'm here, the path that I've chosen, what I'm meant to be doing, and why recently it's been very obvious to me, because my body's intelligence tells me when something's not aligned, and the things that I used to force myself into before, I no longer can, because I'm upgrading, right? I'm resonating higher, I'm upgrading, and I'm outgrowing some old stuff. I'm shedding my snake skin and stepping into this fire horse energy, my new self, and moving up that vibrational sacred spiral myself to light the way. And I've been really doing lots of reflective work and trying to understand where it's come from, the origins, and also get a clearer understanding of the best way to proceed forward, because a lot of my guidance when I do a lot of my meditative work and my shamanic journey work is leading me to understand that I'm best placed spending a lot of my time in that spiritual, energetic, heightened state of consciousness space. That's where I'm so productive and so effective, because I can rebalance and fill up my own energy. I'm literally a creative channel. I get the best ideas and the best creative vision that I can then go ahead and bring into the physical. And we'll talk more about that in terms of quantum physics and collapsing conscious waveform into physical reality, and how it works, how manifesting really works. And because I'm so aware of that, I can feel it and see it when I'm doing it in real time. Spending more time in those meditative practices actually allows me to connect in much higher. And then what I can bring back is much deeper, more aligned wisdom and tools, and just acting as that channel, right? And I have amazing people that I follow who are brilliant channels in other areas that do other things that really have helped me on my journey. So I'd like to be a version of that for others. And it's been a very interesting journey getting there, because now I'm connecting more and more in with that side of myself and not repressing it. It's becoming really super obvious, right? When I look back, I think, how did I not see that? How did I not actually see it as I was going through the journey? I'm spending a very small amount now comparatively in the physical space, in the out with people in the physical, doing the things, because everybody's so battered down and negative and angry and sad and grieving and fighting, and I can't be in those spaces. I have to kind of rescue myself and get out and fill up and be in that beautifully aligned space, and then every now and again dip back in and dive back in and be present there. Whereas it used to be the other way around. I'd be spending all my time there completely depleted, not connected to my higher consciousness at all, not connected to any guidance. And every now and again I'd like oxygen mask, connect in, do a journey or do some meditation. Okay, cool, got some guidance. Back I'd go into the fray, because my martyr complex decided that that's the way I was supposed to behave. So flipping it on its head has been the best thing I've done. And I was doing lots and lots of work. There's a couple of communities that I'm involved with, global communities online, with incredible, amazing practitioners who specialize in this kind of work. Just beautiful, beautiful people. A lot of men, actually, interestingly, divine masculine men coming through that are hosting podcasts and channels around subtle energy work and connecting in people consciously, and all of these deep dive topics that people tend to avoid. And it's really interesting that it's coming up that there's a lot of guys that are stepping into their role as this kind of divine masculine protector, really strong but really soft at the same time. Energy, it's really nice to see. A couple of young guys as well, which is beautiful. Anyway, I digress as usual. So I've been in these spaces and connecting in myself, and then understanding when I'm listening to other people speak, and some really quite inspirational speakers that are doing amazing things all over the world with millions and millions and millions of followers, and really credible in a lot of spaces, all coming together on these platforms. And it's really great to see it's not just one line or one area of a belief, one belief system, or one area of subject matter to follow. There's lots of different people all coming together for a similar goal, and that's kind of raising up, breaking out of this old system. So I've been really enjoying that, and I've been kind of thinking, gosh, some of these people have done amazing things with their lives, and they've found their path and their soul purpose, and they're really living it. And then I've been listening to a few people doing some channeling work and being their own creative channels in their own way, and bringing through their guidance like I'm doing with you guys. But for me, I'm resonating in those spaces, and you're resonating in this space. So I've been really listening and feeling into some of the wisdom that's coming through there. And it's absolutely lit me up, because it's given me a chance to pause and think back to my journey. And one of the biggest things I was wrestling with is the whole shamanic practice element. And my whole body of work now is based on the medicine wheel framework, right? And as a shamanic practitioner, because we were told in no uncertain terms that shamanic practitioner is the correct term, because you cannot call yourself a shaman. And you have to be really careful about what you give yourself a title as, because there's very specific initiations and very specific rites of passage. And of course, everybody wants to be respectful, absolutely want to be respectful of lineage and heritage and ancestry and cultural indigenous wisdom, 100%, absolutely. But within that, there becomes difficulties, again, where that repression kicks back in. Well, I can't speak like this, and I can't say this, and I can't show this kind of stuff, because I'm not from that area, I'm not from that place, I've not done this particular pilgrimage or qualification or training, or I've not spent 20 years in the jungle, and I've not done this, and then you don't, and nobody gets the good stuff, right? So that's been a real difficult thing for me for many, many years, because a few times I've been called out on it, and my little sensitive self that's really reactive to criticism, really reactive, just shuts down at that and goes, right, okay, not doing that again. But I've been really moved over a decade now to do this kind of work, and I'm thinking, well, no, because I need to do it, I'm supposed to do it, this is why I'm here, this is who I am, I can't repress that any longer. I'm just going to have to mediate my language and find ways around it. I've done a lot of tiptoeing. Can't use the word witch, because that's just ridiculous, everyone laughs, or it's scary, or you're putting yourself up for being stoned or burned or hanged. It's what my DNA says. It's not a good thing, and it's it's either laughable because people just think about Halloween. So that title didn't really sit very well with me, although my practices kind of resonate. Medicine woman, that's what it really is. It's medicine woman. They were vilified for many, many years, because natural medicine, natural healing in women's ways, and the healing arts were very dangerous when the current system was being set up. I'll let you ponder on that. But that label didn't I just didn't feel like I could use that label. And then the shamanic practitioner and the shaman label came, and I resonated so deeply with that, really, really deeply, but I couldn't use that label. So who am I? Well, everybody wants to see me as a mental health practitioner, and everybody wants to see me as a counsellor, because I've been doing, when I had my salons for years and years, I was the unofficial, untrained counsellor for everybody. Psychotherapist, I'll go and train here, I'll go and train there, I'll go and do this, I'll do all these hours of practice, and I'll get these certificates, and I'll get these letters after my name, and then I'll be credible, and then I can actually speak my truth. But my truth is over there. I know what my truth is. I know that. I know it in my bones. I know it in my body. My higher self, my higher consciousness knows exactly, and it tells me through my body. I just fail to listen, and then I get sick. And I'm busy distracting myself and procrastinating and trying to get these pieces of paper that other people tell me I need, and that will make me good at what I do. Where the other part of me is going, bullshit, what are you doing that for? You're just wasting time and energy and money, because this is where you're meant to be and this is what you're meant to do. It's dangerous, and it's not credible, and people won't like it, and people might make fun of me or not like me or abandon me. So all this dynamics going on all through years and years of developing myself, my own spiritual development, my own career development, having babies, raising children, balancing all of these things, being a wife, being a mother, being a businesswoman. So there's a lot to unpack. And then all of a sudden my life shifts completely, and I start to lean into and move into listening to my guidance a little bit more in my 30s. Bear in mind, I was 11 when I first started on this path, and I repressed it for a long time. Then I start to listen, and my guidance takes me to Peru. 2013. Randomly, no reason for me to go there at all, with somebody that I hadn't seen since school, I barely spoke to. We're good mates now, but at the time, I hadn't seen them or spoken to them, and even when I did in school, I didn't really know them very well. And all of a sudden, I am travelling 36 hours to deepest, darkest Peru to meet Paddington Bear. And I didn't know that at the time, because at the time I was in fashion. I was the height of my career, fashion and media and beauty, and doing all these beautiful fashion weeks and being surrounded by the beautiful people and all successful. And I got staff, and I'm like winning business awards, and aren't I great? You know, aren't I just winning at life? Feeling very empty. And I've said that before. It wasn't my purpose, right? It wasn't my path. It was just smoke and mirrors and shiny things. And it actually gave me brilliant insight into the most toxic industries, which now I know was part of my learning journey. I had to immerse myself in the most toxic, damaging and dangerous industries so that I could have that contrast with how things really work when it comes to health and self-awareness and self-acceptance and self-compassion and diversity and inclusion and the way the world should work. I needed to understand the light and the dark, the shadow, you know, as the shaman in denial. I had to be in both of those spaces. So then I went to Peru because I was just compelled to go to Peru. And when I was in Peru, I had a quite serious near-death experience, which I brushed off at the time. Didn't really think much of it, but it was not very nice at the time. It was really, really, really unpleasant. I've never felt so ill in my life, never been so poorly, and I probably shouldn't have. I don't know how I managed to get to the top of that mountain, if I'm honest with you. I just don't know. I look back now and I think, how did I get to the top on no food, no fuel, limited air supply? That was my rite of passage, right? Looking back now, that was my pilgrimage, my rite of passage. And then this amazing ceremony at the top of the mountain, Mount Veronica. And I didn't realise the importance of that particular ceremony at the time. Well, I did. I felt it because it was incredible. And we had some beautiful people that we'd met while we were there. We went on the trek with. And I can remember Dave from New Zealand. Probably not going to watch this, but if you do, hello. Doing the haka at the top of this mountain. Just amazing experience. And then coming back down and having to trek another few hours before we could pitch camp for that evening because it was too cold and the altitude was too high. And then we managed to pitch camp. And I was so ill, so ill. And I remember we were told we had to stay in the tent because it was going to get really, really cold because we were still really high up. We had to wear all our layers. We had to hold on to the heat of the bottles of hot water because they would be frozen by the morning, and we had to stay as warm as we could. Under no circumstances can you leave the tent. And I remember thinking I was going to get sick again because I'd spent, I don't know how many days, hours vomiting all the way up the mountain. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to get sick. And I'm in this tiny 2-man tent with my mate, with my bestie. I think, right, I need to get out of the tent. And all I can remember is trying to get out of the tent. I remember trying to get out of the tent and no recollection of anything else. Absolutely no recollection at all, no matter how much I try. I just remember before we went to bed that we were in kind of it felt like a crater, although it wasn't. It was like round part of the valley, and looking up and just seeing the cosmos. I could see the cosmos. I could see galaxies. It was just so many stars. It was just the most beautiful sight, and my camera didn't pick it up, obviously, and it was just like, I've never seen a sight like it. And it felt really poignant. But then going to bed and then realising I was going to get sick and trying to get out the tent, and then just waking up to the sound of people shouting my name in the morning. What's going on? And put my head out of the tent. Felt fine. Actually felt nothing wrong with me. Felt absolutely great. How random. And I could see layers of my clothes all over the floor, frozen to the ground. Hat, glove, scarf, top, just everywhere. And obviously everyone was worried that I'd gone walkabout and got hypothermia and carpet it. But somehow I'd managed to get back into the tent, back into the sleeping bag, everything zipped up, all my layers outside frozen to the ground, and I was fine. Now, that's not a spiritual experience. I don't know what is. I can't tell you what happened, but I know that I came back a completely different person. I came back from Peru. After we'd visited, the morning after that, we went to Machu Picchu at dawn. And as an energy worker, I can't tell you what that experience was like and how the energy felt and what I could see and feel and hear and experience. So that was amazing. It was like a reboot to my whole system. And then I came back a completely different person. Every part of my life changed from that point, and I just didn't see it at the time, because you don't, do you? You get caught up in a daily life and you're just doing your thing. But yeah, it was when I started to think about doing more projects that were challenging my own industry. I started to work with my photographer friends, and we were doing campaigns around body image and anti-bullying and diversity, and I was starting to retrain in mental health, and I was looking deeper at some of these things, and I was opening up my spiritual awareness, and I was feeling very discontent with what I was doing, and I could feel the urge to shift since that moment, since I came back. And then obviously from there, Alt Fashion Fest was born, and we put together our very first show, and then that led on to more things. And then in 2015, 2016, set apart on Soul Tribe, had a whole amazing new set of circumstances, which again led me to this space. And I was always saying that, we're meant to do something, we're meant to heal, the space, we're meant to heal the planet and ourselves and each other and everything in there. And again, getting that repression of stay in your lane, don't be silly, being a bit too woo-woo with some of the things. And so I was going down the formal route, and I was training and doing things and building more certificates so that I could be credible. Inside, I knew that I was trying to get credibility so I could share this ancient wisdom, right? I was going to share the same thing. My path was my path, but I had this different hats and different masks. And I thought, well, if I get these pieces of paper and if I do these work in these spaces, then I'll be able to infiltrate through the back door and gradually, hearts and minds, win people over and get them to understand. We'll start with mental health, and then we'll move to physical, and then we'll move to emotional, and then we can move to this spiritual, energetic stuff that's been repressed and hidden and taken from us, and people will be ready for it by then. That was my plan. It was to do it that way because it was safe for me, and it felt safer for other people to be able to avoid that cognitive dissonance and actually understand in increments and little bits about what they were capable of, and what humans actually should be experiencing and the way we should be living. And I wanted to make sure I could blend in that ancient wisdom that I had studied all over the, amazing teachers all over the world, and gathering all this information and really studying. And I wanted to really pay respect to all of those spaces and places and bring that forward. But then you get new age, hippie nonsense, all the woo-woo, and I'm thinking, okay, but this is powerful, important stuff. This is the only thing we need to know. This is all we need to do is remember who we are, remember why we're here before the nastiness came in and took control. But how do people do that when they are taught to discredit it? And that's the magic of psychology. Mass formation psychosis. The system is not broken. It's designed perfectly to do the job that it's meant to do. Everybody's brainwashed. Everybody is pacified with substances, with fast food, with sugar, with entertainment, with Netflix, with doom scrolling. And nobody is connected in with what they actually should be connected in. And most brilliantly sophisticated business, the conspiracy theorists out there, the new age woo-woo quackery, the labels, the witch label, the labels that are attached to people who know truth, make it so hard for them to share that truth and to share that wisdom, because you're constantly knocked back, constantly slammed doors, constantly ridiculed, constantly persecuted. So I'd always made it my mission to be a translator, right? To move between realms, move between spaces. There's the shaman again. Move between the people and the system. Move between government, local government, national government, and the people that are on the ground floor out in the trenches, and be the mouthpiece and be the translator. Move between spaces of trauma and try and bring a bit of sunshine and a bit of light and a bit of understanding of how to move out of that space. It was always about light and dark, shadow and light, all the counterbalance. I wanted to position myself in between so that I could translate some of that stuff. But it's bloody hard, really hard, and it got harder and harder and harder. And obviously the world moved in incredibly difficult ways, and then we had COVID, and then we had another layer of repression and restriction and conspiracy theorists being called out, where it's only theory until it's fact, right? So there's lots of things coming up now, and lots of people having regrets for different things and starting to think very differently and starting to understand some of the deeper mechanics behind what's actually going on in the planet. but it's very difficult for everybody all round. And then coming out the other side again, right, I'm going to dig my heels in now. And maybe people will be ready now to listen and understand that we need to look after all parts of self. We have to stay well. We have to be responsible for our own health. It's not just about physical health. It's not just about mental health. We have these things in our arena now, but we have to look at emotional and spiritual health in the whole holistic picture. So that's where Mojo School, the concepts, all the tons and tons and tons of information and tools and resources that I had in boxes and boxes and boxes that I would take to every community outreach session that I did. Depending on what the person needed, I would pick out the bits that they needed, and the reactions and the responses were always incredible. The difference, some of these simple, creative, CBT style, inner wisdom, somatic tools, understanding their own energy and their own power and their own sovereignty, thought reframing exercises, managing the nervous system, all of those things seem to be the magic formula. But the system, and I keep saying the system, and it's probably the wrong language, but that's all I've got at the moment. Everybody started to show up in mass numbers. Everybody seemed to be traumatized. Everybody seemed to be struggling. And it was like putting little fingers in big, massive holes, and the tide was coming. And it started to have an effect on my own well-being. And I could see myself heading towards burnout again, which wasn't so good. So the decision was made for me to kind of step back from the front line and digitize all of the stuff so that I could duplicate the stuff that I was doing out in the field and have it available for people who were ready and who wanted it, so that Mojo School could be born. And that's kind of the journey to get to this place I'm at now. There's lots of wisdom in between. And one of the things, since I've been listening to these fantastic podcasts and working with some really great spiritual teachers, is getting me to look back, connecting with my own guides again. And when I connect in with my own guidance, I get lots of different kinds of messaging and different kinds of information. And one line of thinking was leading me back to Peru. I kept thinking about Peru all the time. What's the connection, and why am I thinking about Peru all the time? And I was going back through the whole time and the timeline and what happened, and thinking about the night on the mountain that I can't remember. And I started to research, think, well, there's obviously some connection. I'm so connected to Peru. I'd love to go back. And I just feel every time I go out in nature around here in Wales, it just reminds me. I look at rivers and it reminds me of the rivers and the mountains, and even Wepa Park when it gets really green and lush in the summer, it just reminds me of part of the Amazon. It's just, well, no, it's not, but it brings that back for me. So I know I'm connected at a very deep spiritual level. And when I was researching, it was like another penny drop moment that, oh my goodness, I know now. I know why some of these things have happened. And I know I've got to really move into this space now. I can't deny it any longer. The actual mountain that we visited, we weren't supposed to visit. We were supposed to just go straight up the big long steps to Machu Picchu. But something happened the day before, and it was against every single odd. It was almost impossible for us to take this on. We had no prep, we had no time to acclimatise, we had no gear. My friend that I was with was really sick. I was all right at the time, little did I know. And we were told that we couldn't go on that particular trek, and we either had to go home, I don't think so, just about 36 hours getting here, or we had to go on the Moonstone trek, which is up a mountain, with no preparation, no training, and no time to acclimatise to the altitude. So it was a no-brainer. We just said, yeah, we'll do it, fine, naive as we were. So we shouldn't have even been there. But that mountain, that Apu, called to me for sure. The mountains absolutely called me there. Amazing. And I found out that actually in the wisdom of the people of Cusco, so the Quero, who are specific to Cusco, the little village in Cusco where I went to, they have so much legend and so much wisdom about that mountain. And the mountain is said to be feminine energy, whereas most mountains are masculine energy. They consider it to be feminine energy. How crazy is that? And the ancient name for Mount Veronica, before the Spanish came along and renamed it, was Wake Wilca. And that means, I believe, sacred tears. Sacred tears. It's all about emotions and the feminine, fertility and nature. And it was just, it started to unravel little bits of knowing for me, that clairsentience, claircognizance. I'm going to talk to you about all of the clairs as we move forward and we do a bit more spiritual development, but that innate knowing and sensing and feeling it in your body that this is truth. That I was meant to be at that mountain. I was meant to be there. The connection with the moon. connection with the moon. I'm so connected with the moon and the cycles of the moon and the feminine energy connected with the moon. And it made me dig a bit deeper and start to research a bit more about these people that just live in this tiny little space in Cusco, the exact space that I went to, the exact community. And they are considered to be the closest living relatives to the Inca. And the Inca, you know, the people who just disappeared one day, vibed up, leveled up as far as I'm concerned, and they all vanished all at the same time. And it's brilliant when you walk through the mountains, you literally see it's like just down tools. They're just down tools and all just vanished. So that was always a kind of mystical, magical thing when I was, you know, researching and when I was actually experiencing that. How could that be? What happened? But understanding that those particular people are so connected to the Inca and their magic and their medicine that I experienced. And I have a beautiful, where's my bangle? I have to wear that. I get it out, sort of ceremonial stuff. I have this beautiful silver bangle that was given to me by a lady on the street. And it's always been a kind of talisman for me. So I'm using that a lot as well at the moment. And they have a piece of ancient wisdom, a piece of law, a prophecy, I suppose you'd say. And it's very similar to the Hopi prophecy. And I followed that and shared that for years, the Rainbow Warrior prophecy by the Hopi. There's lots of discreditations, lots of different things around that over the years. It was just decided by somebody else and it wasn't actually from Native America. But then there's a lot of digging deeper that there's actually something there in that when the earth is completely ravaged and everything has gone to shit basically, and we are killing Mother Earth, people from the 4 quarters of the world will come together and be known as the Rainbow Warriors, who will rebuild and have their purpose in bringing together all the peoples. And the Quero, the community that are closely related to the Incas, the shamans in that tribe, have that wisdom that they pass on exactly the same, that there will come a day. I'm going to try and read it for you, actually. Let me see if I can read it. Connection to the Pleiades as well, and a lot of the shamanic rites that I do, especially the Nusta Carpe. Just connected in with all of these things with Peru, and I didn't realise, with the planets, with the Pleiades, with the 7 sisters, with divine feminine energy. It's all connected. And it talks about Pachacuti. So the prophecies speak of tumulus changes happening in the earth and in our psyche, redefining our relationship and spirituality. And they talk about something called Pachacuti, which is order coming out of chaos, or order emerging out of chaos. And they can see all of the signs are being fulfilled, that the next great change is upon us now. So the mountain lagoons have dried, the condor is nearly extinct, and the discovery of the Golden Temple has occurred following the earthquake in 1949. And that to them represented the wrath of the sun. And they refer, like many prophecies from all over the world in various indigenous wisdom, that all point to the same thing, that the end of time as we know it is coming. So it's the death of a way of thinking and a way of being, and an end of the way of relating to nature and to the earth. So they believe that we're going to emerge now into a golden age, a golden millennium of peace. And that's what a lot of different tribes are saying all over the world and have done for a long, long time. And according to this ancient prophecy, we're in a timeline right now where there is something called the Great Gathering that they call the Mass Day. And it's all about reintegration of the peoples of the 4 directions, same as what we've heard before. The Quero are releasing their teachings to the West in preparation for the day the eagle of the North and the condor of the South fly together again. They believe that Munai, the rites that I'm going to be starting to deliver very, very soon, called the Munai Ki, Munai means love and compassion. And Munai will be the guiding force of this great gathering of all the peoples. The new caretakers of the earth will come from the West, and those who have made the greatest impact on Mother Earth now have the moral responsibility to remake their relationship with her, or Pachamama, after remaking themselves. And then they go into more detail to say that North America will supply the physical strength of the body, Europe will supply the mental aspect or the head, and the heart will be supplied by South America. So there's lots of different versions of this all over the world, but for this particular prophecy to be by these particular very, very small group of ancient people in a village that I was literally sent to from out of nowhere like a bolt from the blue, ended up on a completely different trek with less than 24 hours notice to a mountain that represents the sacred feminine and the moon. And then 13 years later, my own connecting in with my own spiritual guidance leads me back to research this more, to realize all along that was part of my path. It was part of my path to go there and to have that experience and to connect in and to bring myself from the West to understand the ways of being and to understand different ways of living and to understand more about the medicine wheel framework. It's not just for Native America. It's not just for the Peruvian shamans. It's not just for the Vikings. It's not just for the pagan community. Here in Wales, we have a Welsh version of it. It's a universal framework for how we live. And it also represents the 4 quarters and the 4 peoples of the earth. Everything is cycles. Everything is 4. Everything is about coming together to build 4 pillars. So I knew for the last 13 years when I came back, when I was talking about this shamanic practice, 4 parts of self, meeting it in balance to be holistically well, moving into this holistic space and trying to get people to understand holistic doesn't just mean having a massage. Holistic therapies, that's included in holistic therapies, the things like reflexology and aromatherapy, the things that I originally trained in when I first started out. But the word holistic simply means whole. And this is what we're trying to do right now. And it gave me so much peace, and it gave me so much, what's the word I'm looking for? Focus and strength, inner strength, to realize actually this has been my path all along. I was always going to bring this kind of wisdom. I was always going to connect in with Indigenous people, Indigenous tribes. And that's why I've met Anthony, who works with Indigenous tribes all over the world, to bring this knowledge back and to play my small part in helping a greater understanding that we've just forgotten how to live this way. We need to bring that knowledge back, and we need to immerse it and blend it with the science that we know about and with the technology that we have. And that's how we're going to blend into this new way of being, a new way of thinking. And that's how we repair the world. So it kind of just led me full circle back to where I knew I was going to be starting from and what I always should have been speaking about. And that is these kind of themes. So very long-winded musings today, and just kind of bringing myself back full circle and bringing anyone who wants to listen to this one up to speed with where I'm at, and to decide whether at this point my work resonates or not. And I'm very aware that I have an audience for many, many years that have seen me in very different phases and doing very different pieces of work, who may not resonate anymore at all and may think, she's gone crazy, she needs locking up. That's fine. It's not for you, and that's cool. It might be one day, it might never be. That's all. That's absolutely fine. But I think there'll be a brand new audience out there somewhere that is not quite aware of me and my little mojo magic yet, and is interested in this story and maybe has a similar story to tell. And without me vocalizing it and releasing some of this trap stuff from my system, no one's ever going to know, are they? And if we all keep ourselves repressed, then we're never going to make those changes, and we're all going to stay in this nasty space where everything's about competition and conflict and gatekeeping and being right. You know, being right is such an important thing for humans, to be able to protect their sovereignty and sense of self. But you know what? This is my truth, and it's right for me. Yours might be very different, but that's also right. I'm not going to try and be correct and right and morally superior or spiritually superior. I'm not claiming to have all the answers. I'm not claiming to know everything there is about science or spirituality. But I am claiming that I've had a lot of experiences, and I balance myself between both. And I'm really happy to share what I've experienced and what I've learned right now, and some of the tools that have helped me. And if that helps you, then that's my purpose fulfilled, right? So I have got a few more guests lined up, because it's been a while. I've spent a little bit of time at the beginning of 2026 just reflecting and just conserving my energy, but it felt right to do this podcast episode today. But I have some really cool people lined up to talk to about all kinds of things, from the deep spiritual stuff like I've been covering a little bit of today, to back into the topics of education with a little slightly different lens to it, and health and social care and storytelling and all kinds of cool things. And I will be doing my little individual ones in between, where I will dive deep into some different topics, and I might bring even more of the woo-woo, who knows. For now, have an amazing, incredible day. Have a think about how this might resonate with you, and maybe whether your experiences through life have actually been leading you somewhere. Maybe do a bit of journaling, a bit of thinking around that, and a bit of reflection. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.